Official numbers place the Minnesota Vikings between $44 and $50 million over the effective salary cap for 2026. According to Over the Cap, when you factor in draft picks and the minimum roster, Minnesota is classified as one of the worst teams in the NFL in available cap space. And that changes everything. This looks like chaos, and for many, it is. Because when you look at the raw number, 44, 48, $50 million in the red, there is no comfort. There is pressure. There is risk. There is a front office forced to choose who stays and who goes. Every dollar pushed forward now comes with interest. Every wrong decision echoes for years. And that's why this offseason can't be treated like just another one. Because what's at stake isn't just flexibility, it's identity. Only after facing that reality head-on does the logic begin to appear. And that's where the first fundamental concept of 2026 comes in. Cap space is not a verdict. It's a tool. With roughly $20.7 million in rollover from 2025, the real number the Vikings need to clear lands somewhere between 28 and 36 million. And as Tyler Forness made clear, this wasn't an accident. This front office pushed money forward knowing that January 2026 would be painful, but manageable. And when you stop reacting with panic and start looking at the structure, the solutions begin to appear. The mechanism starts with the pillars. Brian O'Neill is the perfect example. An extension lowers the immediate cap hit to something close to $8 million and frees up $15 million or more right now. And it still guarantees stability on the right side of the line for years to come. And then we arrive at the contracts that define the identity of this team. Justin Jefferson, Christian Darrisaw. Restructuring those contracts, converting salary into bonus, can generate $13 to $17 million in savings each in Jefferson's case, and around $10 million with Darrisaw. It's the classic contender move, even when the team still hasn't decided if it is one. But not every solution comes without emotional cost. Javon Hargrave is the first difficult name. 32 years old. Heavy contract. Modest production in 2025, 3.5 sacks, while Jalen Redmond emerged as a younger, cheaper alternative. A cut here frees up $10 to $11 million. And, realistically, there shouldn't be a debate. Aaron Jones enters the same equation. Talent was never the question. Availability always was. With the injury history, releasing him opens up $7 to $8 million. Ryan Kelly is even more complex. 3 concussions in a single year, 6 in his career. There is a real possibility of retirement. If that's not the case, a renegotiation seems inevitable. In any scenario, it's around $8 to $9 million in relief. And then we arrive at the name that completely divides the fan base. T.J. Hockenson. The contract is heavy. The cap hit in 2026 reaches $21 million, and the recent production doesn't keep up. After a peak in 2023 with 960 yards and 5 touchdowns, the last 2 years combined delivered 893 yards and just 3 scores. Injuries, age, he will turn 29, and a drop in explosiveness changed the landscape. Cutting Hockenson generates almost $9 million immediately. And here is the real dilemma. It's not just money, it's identity. Because even with the decline in receiving production, Hockenson is still a key piece in the physical game, while Josh Oliver already offers elite blocking. The Vikings can survive without him, but they need to make that choice consciously. This is the pattern of 2026. There are no easy decisions, only necessary decisions. And all of this brings us to the central point of the offseason. Because the cap, despite being loud, is not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that the success of the defense masked structural flaws. Brian Flores delivered an absurd season, top 10 in practically every relevant metric. 44.5% pressure rate, the best in the NFL, second best performance in the red zone, 4th in defensive EPA. Over the last 5 games, just 10.4 points allowed per game. That's not good. That's absolute elite. But here's the danger. This defense saved jobs. Without it, this team probably finishes with 5 wins or fewer. And then January 2026 would be a clear rebuild, not a confusing debate. On top of that, Flores' contract expired on January 14th. 6 head coach openings around the league, interviews happening, and a silent question hanging in the air. What if the Vikings lose the pillar that held all of this together in 2024 and especially in 2025? Because if Flores leaves, the curtain falls and the problems are exposed. That's where the quarterback debate comes in, not as the protagonist, but as a consequence. The Vikings had 8 quarterbacks start games over the last 3 years. Instability became the standard. J.J. McCarthy finished 2025 ranked 40th in EPA per play among 44 quarterbacks with at least 100 snaps. The raw number was minus 0.15 EPA per play. And yes, this matters. But context matters more. Injuries, concussion, hand fracture, a patched-together offensive line. The starting unit played just 84 snaps together the entire season. There were 23 different combinations. That's not development, that's survival. Did McCarthy show growth late? Yes, but against weakened rosters and games without real stakes. The front office's conclusion is simple. You can't bet everything on that. It doesn't mean giving up. It means protecting the team from itself. And that connects every decision of this offseason. And we haven't even talked about the draft, the aging secondary, the future of Jordan Addison, pick 18, the risk of the Vikings getting stuck in the almost again. But that is the next layer we're going to talk about right now. And when you understand this background, everything starts to connect. Because the defense was elite, the cap is fixable, and the quarterback is still an unknown. So, where exactly are the Vikings vulnerable? The answer is in the areas that didn't show up in the box score, but decided games. Let's talk about the secondary. Minnesota managed to pressure quarterbacks like few teams in the league, but pressure without coverage becomes a lottery. And the reality is this: the defensive backs group is aging and losing depth. Harrison Smith missed time early in the season due to illness, and at 37 years old, retirement is a very real possibility. It's not a leadership problem, it's biology. Byron Murphy enters free agency. Josh Metellus was forced into an expanded role, and while he brought versatility and effort, the ceiling of the group remains limited. That's why the 2026 draft begins in the deep part of the field. The 5-game winning streak to close 2025 was emotionally positive, but strategically costly. It pushed the Vikings to the 18th overall pick, out of reach of obvious blue chips, inside the zone where you need to hit the profile, not just the name. And here is the advantage. The roster doesn't have absolute holes on the offensive line or in the receiving corps. That allows something rare: best player available. And when you cross BPA with need, the mocks start to converge. Cornerback, defensive tackle, youth, speed, explosion. Mansour Delane from LSU shows up repeatedly as a natural fit. An aggressive corner, comfortable in man coverage, exactly the type of player Brian Flores demands to sustain his philosophy. If the Vikings decide to trade down a few spots and accumulate capital, they should still come out of the first round with defensive help. Because this unit, despite being dominant, was sustained by creativity, not by depth. And this brings us to the second major point ignored during the season. The defense was too good for its own good. It won games that the offense lost. It kept the team competitive, even with 30 offensive turnovers, the worst number in the league. It masked structural flaws. And that created a dangerous illusion. Because now, the temptation is to think that it's enough to adjust here and there to take another leap, when in reality, the Vikings need to decide if they're willing to deconstruct parts of the roster to truly evolve. This dilemma shows up clearly in the receiving group. Jordan Addison was supposed to take a leap in 2025. What happened was the opposite: a sharp drop in production, off-field issues, and an important decision approaching: the 5th-year option. At the same time, Jalen Nailor quietly developed. Career highs in receptions and yards, 29 catches, 444 yards, and more touchdowns than Justin Jefferson and Addison in 2025. But here's the problem. According to Spotrac, Nailor's projected average annual value sits near $5 million, while the market could push that closer to $10 million per year for a WR3. With Jefferson making $35 million per year, and Addison projected for something around $25 million. Keeping all three would mean one of the most expensive wide receiver rooms in the NFL. This is the type of decision that defines a philosophy, not a player. And there's still the staff. Brian Flores remains the anchor of all of this, but the offense needs reflection. Even with all the injuries, there were moments when the offensive design simply didn't work. And that's why legitimate discussions emerged about the future of Wes Phillips and Josh McCown on the staff. This is not a judgment of individual competence. It's a question of renewing ideas. Because Kevin O'Connell enters 2026 carrying historical weight. He became the first head coach since 2018 to reach a fifth year without a playoff win. It's not a hot seat, but it's a clock. The Vikings can't afford another year of context explains it. And when you put all of this together, cap, defense, draft, staff, receivers, quarterback, the final picture becomes clear. The Vikings don't need a full rebuild, but they also can't pretend they're one piece away. This offseason is about institutional honesty, admitting the defense carried the team, admitting the offense was inconsistent, admitting some bets failed, and deciding consciously where to push money and where to cut ties. Because 2026 cannot be another middle ground year. Either the Vikings accept a small step back now, or they keep running in circles hoping talent solves everything on its own. The cuts will hurt, the choices will divide the fan base, and some decisions will only make sense 2 or 3 years from now. But that's the difference between surviving in the NFL and building something that actually lasts. This 2026 offseason is not the end of a cycle. It's the final test of this front office. Thank you for watching and see you soon.